Hey YouTube, what's going on? This is the art of prepping. Thanks for joining me today as we focus on the question of how to deal with death during an SHTF event. This is not a pleasant type of topic. A lot of people avoid this type of conversation, but I invite you in the comment section to leave your thoughts. The first thing is that people die. People die during disasters, common knowledge, but a lot of people act like it doesn't exist. This is a big problem. So you have to come to terms with that this happens, and this happens all over the world all the time. And now, in terms of what you can do first off, though, when someone perishes, it could be someone that you love and you know, or it could be a complete stranger. The thing that I would want to know first off is how did they die? Identify the cause of death. Was it an accident? Can we prevent this? Was it poor health? Was it a murder? Should be suspicious of other people in the group or maybe outside the group. Should it be something that we could be concerned about because maybe it's a disease that's contagious? Or was it a suicide? So we have to look at the cause. And what about the emotional grief, especially if you were connected and had a bond with that individual? You should allow yourself and others to grieve. Just because you're in a survival situation potentially doesn't mean that you should stifle grief. There is a point, though, you may have to basically adapt to that situation, and you may have to push some of that grief back just to get through some rough times. But I will have to say, though, that when you have a time to grieve, grieve and don't hold back because it is a natural process. So you can make yourself pretty sick if you do not grieve. In terms of infectious diseases, if you do believe the individual was infected, I would quarantine the body. Do not touch the body. If you can, wrap the body in plastic wrap to safeguard so that there is no spread of a disease. Now, if you can contact a family or those who know the individual, that would be the first thing. But if that's not possible, then do you know their wishes, how they would want to be buried? If you don't know that, do the best you can to dispose of the body in the most respectful manner possible. The two main ways to dispose of the body would be through cremation and burial. Cremation requires at least like 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit heat for many hours, and this is not really practical in an SHTF situation. And so I think burial is going to be a lot more practical. Try to bury the body as deep as possible. Between 3 to 6 feet is kind of the rule of thumb if you can. Typically, the deeper the better. It reduces the chances of the body floating to the top if there was a flood, and for various animals to keep them out of from digging the body back up, so you don't have the corpse being dragged around by dogs. That would be horrendous. And in terms of the body, if you can, try to wrap the body once again in plastic wrap. And if you have a situation, maybe in the wintertime and the ground is frozen, you can't dig, store the body away from the population and animals and water sources. And the same thing goes with when you bury the individual eventually, when the ground is not frozen. You don't want to bury the individual next to a waterway or an underground stream. You also don't want to bury them close to your gardens. And also you don't want to bury them close to any type of population center. So you don't want close to the home. And so these are just thoughts here about that. In terms of burial markers, stone is much better in terms of longevity than wood, obviously. So carve into a nice thick piece of wood, stone instead of wood, and record where you buried and when this happened and how you do believe the person expired. And so if you do run into some family members, you'll have the option to, and the capabilities, of course, too, to actually say, hey, your brother is over here. We buried him here. We think he died of this on this day, and we're sorry for your loss. That would allow a lot of closure, and that would give the opportunity for the family to start to grieve because they know for sure that he did pass and where he is. So anyways, what are your thoughts on this? It's a horrendous subject. Actually, I don't even like talking about it myself. It's a major turnoff, but people do die, and people do need to have a plan on how to deal with it. So, hey, I hope everyone's well, and hopefully we will never have to deal with this type of subject matter in the future. Thanks for watching. You guys take care.